Mahalo to the following sponsor: Creative Stone and Tile. Quality custom stone, granite, and tile installation. For more information, contact Ross Arledge, rossmaui@yahoo.com. Mahalo. Welcome to Life on Maui. My name is Stephen Freid. My guest for today is Daniel Opitz. I recently screened the director's cut of his movie, The Humpback Code, at Akaku, and it's a beautiful piece of filmmaking. Well, welcome to the show, Daniel.
Thanks for having me here.
My pleasure. It was just a delight watching that. What initially got you interested in whales?
God, that's pretty much my life story. I've always been fascinated by whales and dolphins in general, and I grew up at the Baltic Sea in Germany, where we don't have those. But it all started like my girlfriend those days when I was a teenager. She once gave me a present, like a day with a dolphin, and so she set up an entire day at a sea park, and I was able to spend the entire day with the dolphins there. And so that just kind of hooked me immediately. And since then, since I'm a teenager, I just lived with it. And you know, after school, I went to the Red Sea, worked as a windsurf instructor and dive guide for several months. And
at the Red Sea?
In the Red Sea, yeah,
huh?
Egypt.
Egypt.
And so we had a bunch of encounters in the open ocean with them. And it just kept on going since then. You know, I made my decisions to study marine biology and did my bachelor. I never did my master, but I studied for a little bit. And after my bachelor, I just came to Maui first time 12 years ago, actually to be with the whales and see what the reality is all about, and not just the books and everything. So that's how it kind of all started with the humpback whales on Maui like 12 years ago.
And you split your time between here and Germany?
Since then, I always came back in the winter, except like maybe 1 or 2 years. So the plan was, and the reality is now, to be here like in the winter at whale season and be back in Europe trying to take care of business and everything for the summertime. And
yeah, you were saying a very different life for you. When you're in Germany, things are pedal to the metal. Here, you can be a little bit more laid back, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, yeah.
Yeah.
It's different. You know, we call this here our production office, and back there is like the back office and actually the head office. So here's the fun part is happening, like shooting and getting inspiration and work on final concepts and stuff. That's all happening here. And like preparation, funding, post-production, that's all happening back in Europe. Right. And it's kind of a cool deal. You know, I kind of, after several months, I kind of miss the speed we have back there, you know, and after some months there, I'm just tired and burned out because of it, so it's time for me to come back here. And so I think it's going to stay that way for the rest of my life, you know. I kind of need both, and it makes sense, and it kind of works out well for me.
Yeah, it's great. What a nice balance you got going.
Well, I'm not sure if it's always balancing, it's also struggling, because like two realities, like, you know, I have my life here, and I have a life back there, so sometimes it's a little bit too much, but there's no way I would ever give one of those both sides up. So I'm not complaining. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. There's some interesting things I learned about whales from your movie, like only males sing, and it's not necessarily to attract a mate. What are some other interesting traits about whales?
Oh, there are so many. I mean, it's endless, and I'm not a scientist. I have to say that I'm a filmmaker, so I'm seeing it mostly from the creatives, or from the visual part, and from not necessarily from the scientific part. But what you said, you know, it's just kind of a very interesting thing. And we were actually, I think, maybe the first documentary out there who told the real story that, you know, everybody knows the Humpback song. It's like one of the most best-sold CDs in the world since decades, and. Since it's just happening in the mating grounds, or mostly happening in the mating grounds and breeding grounds, everybody was just kind of assuming that the purpose for those beautiful songs is to attract the females. But just fact is that no scientist has ever seen a female responding to the songs. It's just a male and male thing. So that was a big part of the documentary, The Humpback Code.
So it brings the men together?
Yeah. It's a
so
men.
The singing brings the men together?
Yeah.
Isn't that something? Well, what do they do when they're together?
What they usually do is, like, you know, there's a singer, and then the singer is singing, and then a so-called joiner is coming straight to the singer, and they have like some minutes of interaction, connection, whatever you want to call it. And then it's as far as I know, it's just, you know, either one of them leaves again and the singer starts to sing again, or the singer is leaving and the joiner starts to sing again. So they usually don't stay together unless they're these big groups of males chasing females, these so-called active or competitive groups. So but it's definitely the male-male thing, which was really surprising for me to find out, because I have to say, to tell the story of the Humpback Code, there are like two ways. Either you talk about the function of the song or the complexity of the song. And I'm personally super interested in the complexity of the song, like long-term. That's what hooked me 15 years ago already. You know, why is it so complex? But there are not many answers, even from the scientific community. I mean, it's really very complex, and it's kind of maybe too complex for us to understand. But the function of the song, that's how I kind of figured out to tell the story, what the song is all about. And so one of the main functions of the song is, as you said, to track the males and not the females, which is totally surprising. And
is it true that that all around the world and they're singing the same song?
Yeah. I
and
mean,
that changes
in different
every year?
populations, like all the singers in the northern population of the Pacific are singing the same song at the same time, although the song is constantly changing. So that's kind of, how do they do that, you know? And I don't know, and I don't know anybody who really knows. It's just really, that's kind of the most striking thing with the song, because there's no technical or scientific or artificial explanation in that. And that's what I'm really hooked in, you know, like, why do they do that and how do they do that? And, you know, as the people in my documentary say, we still don't know, although they're doing it all the time. And but that's definitely the most weird thing about the songs, beside the beauty and the complexity and whatnot. It's just, there are a lot of questions out there which hasn't been answered yet.
Yeah.
The dives serve only scientific purposes. A good photo of the belly of a whale is the only way to determine the sex of the animal without an elaborate, time-consuming DNA analysis. That's how Flip was able to confirm almost 30 years ago that only male humpbacks sing.